Are you losing money on your 401k? Well, even if you were, how can you even tell? Even if your employer matches, keep watching to the end because I'm gonna talk to you about where the best place to be able to put your money. All right, so the question is, how can you even tell if you're losing money even if you get the match? Well, if you already have a lot of money, you already know. You've probably seen this over time. You've probably noticed that when the markets go up, it feels great, but when it goes down, you notice it. Now, see, the match is great. It's awesome in some ways. We don't mind that quote unquote free money. And I'm not saying that getting a match is a bad thing. The problem is this, is that if you start seeing that your money going down the toilet bowl, why would we want to flush another dollar going in that toilet bowl with it, right? That's what's really happening in the market. For example, 2022, the average 401k in Fidelity lost 20.5%. Basically 20%, you lost a fifth of your money. Even if you got the match, even if you got a 100% match, you noticed it because now you have the double the money, you also have double the money to lose, don't you? And so you notice it a bigger way. So let's just say you put $5,000 in the market last year and then they added another 5,000, you have 10,000. Well, you put in 5,000, you're feeling great, but guess what? Now, because you lost 20%, you lost 2,000 bucks. Now you might tell yourself, oh, whew, at least I have $8,000. That's good. I still have 3,000 more than I expected. That's true. The problem is this, is that they only match new money. If you're brand new to this, you don't notice it. But for those of you that probably have maybe at least a few $100,000 in your 401k, you've been in this game for a little while, maybe decades, and you notice, because you know that you've put money in, you're not, all that money that's in there, you're putting in more than what you're getting matched, right? You're noticing that more is going in. And so if you have, say, $100,000, you lose 20%, you lost 20,000, that could be more than the match that you had. It might have been all the gains from the market that you had from before, and now you're saying, well, gee, that just set me back a few years. That's not what I was hoping for. Even worse, again, if the market tries to come back up, you have to climb up 25% to make up for that 20% loss. The match really can't make up for all that by itself. You need something more. So that's the problem I see here. Here's the one thing I've also had as a myth. People believe that the myth of the match, right? The match, if you get a 100% match, that's a 100% return, or a 50% match is a 50% rate of return. That's only true for the first few months. But after a while, because of the compounding interest and what really happens, it's not. So for example, if you just put $5,000 away per year into an investment like a mutual fund, earning 7%, after 30 years, you'll have just over $500,000. You have $505,000 of putting in $5,000 a year for 30 years at 7%. Well, what if you got a 100% match on that? 10,000. Now people will say, well, I got a 100% rate of return. Well, let's see. If you say we still get 7% in the market, but then we add a 100% rate of return, well, that means that we should have, what the match will give us, right? Well, let's just see what that's after 30 years, 107% interest rate. Your ending balance, and I'm gonna have to count the digits here, guys. We probably have to spell it out for you here. This is exactly 29 trillion, 151 billion, 904,708,101 and 15 cents. So you just became a multi-trillionaire. Congratulations, by putting in $5,000 a year for the next 30 years in your 401k, getting your 100% match, 100% return, you are now a multi-trillionaire. You beat Bezos, you beat Buffett, you beat anybody else with a B name, you beat them, right? We know this is bull crap. There's no way someone's gonna put $5,000 a year into their 401k and get that match. Here's the truth. What's really happening is your 5,000 just becomes 10,000 a year. You don't make a 100% rate of return. You still get that 7% return after 30 years. Guess what? Instead of 505,000, you have 1,010,000. You have exactly double down the road. And see, with compounding interest, they talk about, the whole compound effect, the rule of 72. Well, the longer you have that match, the less the match becomes important because 1 million, that's it. What does that return actually mean that you got? That means your $5,000 actually really only got about 10.5% return instead of a 7% return. Hey, that's better than nothing, right? 10.5 is not too shabby, assuming you get that. But here's the problem. I know many of you watching this right now, you're putting in more than what they're matching. That's for a 100% match. Most of the time, most companies are only giving you a 50% match. Well, that's not nearly as impressive. And if you're max funding your 401k, maybe you're putting in $20,000 a year, that match is not even close to 50 or 100% of the money you're putting in. It might be negligible. It might be adding maybe a 1% return to your money. So that's the issue. This is why the average 401k right now only has $103,000 as of 2023. Also, Even for a 65-year-old, the average is only about $250,000. We've even seen articles come out. I actually already did a video on this before, where there are 401k millionaires, they're declining because of what happened in 2022. There's only less than 300,000 people that have more than $1 million in their 401k. 300,000 out of over 300 million Americans. How is it possible that 0.1% of the population actually has that retirement amount? I guarantee there's more baby boomers than 0.1%, because baby boomers is a huge generation. And there's Xers that I know have been able to save more money too. What happened to them? This is the problem we have with the 401k. So really you get three choices here, right? Option one, protect the money that's in there, because if you lose in the stock market, it's hard to come back. Like I said, you lose 20% in 2022, you need a 25% return just to get back to zero. And in the meantime, by the time it finally hits there, what if you already lost to inflation? This also happened. My dad was involved in his 401k during Y2K. 2000 kicked his butt. It started to come back up in 2003, 4, 5, 6, and then 2007, 8, 9, boom, the market crashes again. And then he's set back again, and then starts building again. I'll tell you, not just him, but several of my clients, as I worked with them over the years, going through the 2000s into the 2010s, you know what time they actually said those that had 401ks or IRAs that they stopped contributing to, and then they started to see what the reality was of their fund? Many of them said my height at 2000, where my height of my fund was, it didn't finally catch up until 2015. 15 years before it finally caught back up. And guess what? I guarantee inflation had already doubled by that point, which means they still lost 50% of their purchasing power after 15 years. They never even got it back. It took them really till about now to say, ooh, maybe I broke it even at zero with inflation since 2000. Guys, this is serious stuff. So that's what I'm saying. Option one is you can protect the money that's in there. Try not to lose money. You could go into lower risk funds. The risk you're gonna have though with that is if you don't have market risk, you might have inflation risk, because again, it may not make that much money staying in like money market accounts or bond funds and things like that. At least you won't lose money, but you may not make enough money to make a difference either. Option number two is you just keep gambling. Just do what everybody else does, right? Because when the masses do it, the masses get rich, right? Wrong, but you can keep gambling your money in there and hoping that it all works out and just ride the waves, and hopefully in 15, 20 plus years, you might finally have as much money as you had 20 years ago. Or number five, you can stop your contributions like many of our clients have learned to do and wondered why they didn't do it sooner, and then they invest it elsewhere. So I had one client where they were religiously putting the money in their 401k, max funding it, doing everything they could. But after about 20 years of doing that, they realized they only had a few $100,000 in there. They said, wait, what's going on here? But again, with market ups and downs, it didn't work. They said, okay, Chris, this $400,000, what can we do with it? I'm like, well, you can stop contributing and get that money out of prison and use it elsewhere. You start using that money, you can invest elsewhere, which is what they started doing. And guess what? They started generating more passive income outside of it. In fact, more than what their 401k is making them with less money. We've even had a guy that had a 401k, he was able to get out of it, $1 million. It went from hoping to pull out $30,000 a year to now generating $11,000 a month. That's over $130,000 a year. $30,000 a year to over $130,000 a year, and he feels safer because he's investing in real assets like we talk about all the time on this channel. So guys, by the way, if this is valuable, please like and subscribe. Love to hear this. But if you think this is good stuff and you want to know how to actually get your money to work for you harder elsewhere, check out my next video about can I live on $4,000 a month in retirement, and we'll talk about how you can do that.